Hello world, this is Dennis and welcome to Sparkyzilla 85's Christian Rock and Metal Show. And for this episode I'm going to be going over my top 5 Christian rock and metal albums. These are the albums that mean the most to me and the Christian albums I listen to over and over again. So let's get started with number 5, Pillar, the album Fireproof. This was my first really heavy Christian metal album. Well, I don't know if you would consider it Christian metal or Christian hard rock or hardcore or, there's so many genres of, rock and metal, it's hard to keep track of all of them, but I would have to say this is the album that started it all for me, that really got me into the heavier stuff. And, oh, that's my iPod. Okay. Sorry, weird noise going off. But anyhow, this is the album that started it all for me. Obviously, the first song I heard off of this album was Fireproof. It was on some Christian rock and metal sampler. I can't remember what it is anymore, but it got me hooked on Pillar. So I picked up this album from Walmart, and at first I didn't really care for it because I wasn't used to all the yelling and screaming. I was into a little bit of the harder stuff, but this was something completely different. And at first I was thinking about getting rid of this album, but I stuck with it. I listened to it over and over again, and it grew on me, and this is what led me down the road to even heavier stuff. So number 5 is Pillar's Fireproof. For number 4, we've got Crimson Thorn with their album Purification. Sorry, I always have to look at it. This isn't my first Christian death metal album, but this has to be one of the hardest albums in my collection. I found these guys on MySpace, if I remember correctly. Just did a search for Christian metal because I'm always looking for new stuff to listen to, and I'm kind of dating myself now because this was back before Facebook was the big thing. MySpace was the, hip social media site. Now, I don't know if they're even around anymore, to tell you the truth. But anyhow, the song that I heard from this album that got my attention was, I think it was either Lack of Compassion or Sarcastic Deviation. This is a really hard and heavy album. My favorite of it on this album would have to be Narrow. It's got a mix of, nice, hard, heavy death metal sound, but some clean vocals for the chorus, and an overall really good message to the song about, how the Christian life is a narrow road, and, not everybody can make it. Overall, this is just an amazing, almost dropped it, an amazing album. I wish I had more of their albums, but they're kind of hard to find, and when they do show up on eBay, they are really expensive. So number 4 is Crimson Thorn's Purification. Number 3, I can guarantee most people haven't heard of this group before. The name of the group is Postmortem, and the album is Rise Above Ruin. I can't quite remember how I discovered this album. I got the CD off of cdbaby.com, if I remember correctly. And this is a unique metal album. It's a mix of the growling vocals and clean vocals. And I can say this is the only album that I have that I can think of where there's a lot of violin work. Besides, your guitar riffs, there's violin work. And I think after I'm going done showing off each album, I might play a little clip from each album. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that or not because I'm a little hesitant with all this, copyright stuff going on YouTube, and I don't know if, that's allowed or not. So, wait and see and find out. But this is definitely a unique album, and as far as I know, this is their only album. I really haven't seen anything else from Postmortem, so if you happen to come across the CD, I highly suggest you pick it up. And that was number 3. Now for number 2, we have Impending Doom's Baptized in Filth, which, in my opinion, has to be their best album so far. And I should know because I've been re-listening to their albums over and over again from crud. I'm having a brain fart, but from the first album to wow, I am just bombing out. I can't remember what their last Death Will Reign was their last album. And I guess there's some hints that they might be coming out with a new album this year, which I really hope. But overall, this has to be my favorite album. Mainly because it has the most tracks on there that I really enjoy, from Murderer for the Wicked, Chaos Reborn, Deceiver, Falling Away. It's just amazing song after amazing song. And one of my favorites off of this album is track number 9, My Light on Scene, with Ryan Clark from Demon Hunter. It's just an amazing song. You got Ryan Clark doing his clean vocals, and Brock Reeves from Impending Doom doing the usual screaming, growling, whatever you would call it. It's an amazing song, and I highly recommend this album to anybody who's into Christian metal. So number 2 is Impending Doom's Baptized in Filth. And for number 1, we have Mortification's Hammer of God. This was my first Mortification album, and I would have to say this is the album that really started sending me down the road of the harder Christian metal. Like I mentioned, Pillar's Fireproof got the ball rolling, but this is the album that pushed it down the hill and got it up to full speed. Yet again, like with Baptized in Filth, I love almost every track on here. And it's a good start if you're not used to, the death metal sound, but you're looking for something a little bit harder. This is the album I would recommend. And then go through the rest of Mortification's catalog, like their self-titled album, Scrolls of the Megaloth, if you want to go into the really heavy stuff. But to start off with, I would suggest Mortification's Hammer of God, which is my number 1 Christian metal album, and my favorite song on here is Ride a Light. I don't know what it is about that song. I think it's maybe because it's really catchy, but I just love it. It's a great tune. So those are my top 5 Christian rock and metal albums. Let me know what you think of my choices in the comments below, and like I said, I might play some clips after this just so you can get an idea of what each album is like. If you don't say anything, well then I didn't, because if you're getting a copyright strike. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Let's see here, and as always, peace and all that good stuff. Try to touch me and you'll find you can't turn me, you'll turn me.